To be there is very important. If you can manage to be there for him or for her, that is the most precious gift you can make to your beloved one. And when you are fresh as a flower, and when you are solid like a mountain, reliable, your presence is wonderful. That's the best thing you can offer to your beloved one. In order to practice this mantra, we have to breathe in and become a flower again. We have to breathe in order to become solid again. And when we go to the other person, we look at him in his eyes and we pronounce the mantra, darling, you know something? I'm here for you. It means I'm fresh as a flower, I'm solid as a mountain, you can count on me. And that can make her or him happy right away. To practice mindful breathing, to practice mindful walking, you can go home to yourself and restore your freshness, your flowerness, and to become more solid, more reliable. And then your presence will be the best thing to offer to him or to her, your beloved one. That is the first mantra. And this mantra can be practiced with your cell phone also. Holding the cell phone, you practice breathing in and out and restore yourself. Smiling, solid, loving, and you call him or her and you pronounce the mantra, darling, you know something? I am here for you. That will make him or her happy right away. I guarantee that it will work. That will work with the practice of mindful breathing, mindful walking for a few minutes. The mantra is going to work surely. The second mantra is equally easy to practice. Before you pronounce the second mantra, you have also to practice mindful breathing or mindful walking, so that you can be entirely yourself. And then you go to him or to her and you pronounce the mantra like this, darling, I know you are there and I am so happy. How can I survive without your being there? So the first mantra is to offer your presence. The second mantra is to recognize his or her presence as something so important for you. The second mantra is to use the energy of mindfulness to acknowledge the presence of the person you love. The first mantra is to produce your presence, your true presence. How can you love unless you are there? In order to love, you have to be there. And to be there is a practice. And the practice of mindful breathing, mindful walking can be very effective in producing your true presence. And you know that is not difficult. The second mantra is to recognize his or her presence. When you are truly there, you are truly present, you can recognize the presence of your beloved one. To love someone is to be there for him or for her and to recognize his or her presence as something very precious to you. Therefore, the second mantra is to recognize your beloved one's presence. Darling, I know you are there. I'm so happy. You do not feel that you are loved unless the other person recognizes your presence. The other person may feel that she is ignored by you. That is why it's very important to remind him or her that he is so precious for you. And that is why we need the second mantra. Darling, I know you are there. I'm so happy. And again, you can use your portable telephone to practice. The third mantra you need to practice when you notice that something does not go well with your beloved one. Because you are mindful. That is why you notice that something is not going very well with him or with her. And because you are concerned about his or her happiness, you want to produce your presence. Again, you practice mindful breathing, mindful walking, to be truly there, and you go to him or to her and you pronounce the third mantra. Darling, I know you suffer. That is why I'm here for you. When your beloved one suffers, and if you ignore his or her suffering, he does not feel that he is loved. That is why it's very important that you be there and tell him, to tell her that you are there for him or for her. Before you do something to help him or her to suffer less, your presence and your mantra can already make him or her suffer much less. The effect is right there. The effect can be seen right away. Darling, I know you suffer. That is why I'm here for you. The fourth mantra is a little bit difficult, but we have to learn. There will be a moment, there will be a time when we need the fourth mantra. That is why we have to learn, even if we don't need it now. That is when you yourself suffer and you believe that your suffering has been caused by the person you love the most. You believe that he or she has betrayed you. If it was another person who has done that to you, if it were another person who has said that to you, you would have suffered less. But it's not another person, it is him, it's her who has said that to you. that has done it to you. That is why you suffer so much. You are deeply hurt. And you are so hurt that you want to punish him, to punish her for having done that to you, for having said that to you. You want to prove that you don't need him, you don't need her. You can survive alone very well. You prefer to go to your room and lock the door and cry. There is something like hurt, pride standing on the way. You cannot go to him or to her and ask for help because you are hurt deeply. And in you there is a tendency to punish, to tell him or her indirectly that you don't need him, you don't need her. You can very well survive alone. Even if he come and inquire about you, darling, is something wrong? Do you suffer? You say, I'm okay. Why do I have to suffer? And if he tries to comfort you, putting his hand on your shoulder, you say, leave me alone. You want to punish him or her. You suffer deeply and you want to express your hurt by that a kind of punishment. You want to prove that you can very well survive without him or her. That is human, and that has happened to us in the past. So the mantra is a little bit difficult to practice. If you want to practice the mantra, you have to go to him and pronounce this sentence. Darling, I suffer. Please help. What prevents you from doing so is your pride. You prefer to go to your room and lock the door and cry. Darling, I suffer. Please help. It means, darling, you have made me suffer. I do not understand why you have done such a thing to me. I do not know why you have said such a thing to me. I suffer. Please explain. You are not capable of going to him or to her and tell him or her that, because you are so hurt. But as a practitioner, you know that you and the other person, you might be victim of a wrong perception. The other person may have not had the intention to hurt you, to make you suffer. But because you have a wrong perception, you think that it is his intention to make you suffer. That is why we have to check, we have to ask directly why he has done that to us, why she has said that to you. And that is the expression of true love. When you love someone, You need him, you need her, especially when you suffer deeply. And that is why the fourth mantra is very necessary. You have to learn. There will be a time when you have to use it. There is a story. A young man went to the war and left his young wife pregnant at home. And fortunately, he survived the war and went home to his wife. And the little boy who was born during his absence. So the lady went with the little boy to the gate of the village to welcome him home. And they cried because of their happiness. According to our tradition in Vietnam, when there is a good news like that, you have to announce the news to the ancestors. In every home there is an altar for the ancestors. So the lady confided the little boy to her husband and went to the marketplace to do some shopping in order to prepare a kind of offering to be placed on the altar of the ancestors. And during her absence, the young father tried to get the little boy call him daddy, but he refused. Mister, you are not my daddy. My daddy used to come every night. And my mother spent a lot of time talking to him, crying with him. And every time he sat down, my mother also sat down. When he lied down, my mother also lied down. And when the young father heard that, he suffered so deeply. He was so deeply hurt that he could not smile anymore. They went home. And when the lady came home with the provisions, he did not look at her anymore. He did not talk to her anymore. He suffered so much. And the lady was very surprised. The moment when they first met at the gate of the village was so wonderful. He was so happy, but what happened? And she did not understand. But she continued to prepare the offering. And when the offering was made, he placed it on the altar and burned incense and prayed to the ancestors, announcing his return. And after that, instead of sitting down and enjoy a meal together, he left the house and went to the bar and get drunk, hoping to forget his suffering with alcohol. And he did not come home until 2 or 3 in the morning. He continued to do that several days. The young lady did not understand. She suffered very deeply. He never wanted to talk to her again. He never wanted to look at her again. So finally she jumped into the river and got drowned. And when the young father learned that his wife is dead, he came home and took care of the little boy. After the funerals, one night he lighted the lamp, kerosene lamp, and suddenly the little boy shouted. He pointed to the shadow of his father on the wall and said, "Mister, here is my daddy. You know my daddy came every night like this. And my mother always talked with him for a long time and cried with him for a long time. And every time my daddy sat down, she sat down. When my daddy lie down, she also lie down. In fact, there is no one intruding into the house. The fact is that one day when the little boy came home from the hamlet, he asked his mother, "Mommy, everyone has a father. Why I do not have one? Where is my daddy?" And it's so complicated for the lady to talk about the war and so on. So she pointed to her own shadow on the wall projected by the kerosene lamp and said, "This is your daddy. Why don't you say, 'Hello, Daddy'?" And of course, the little boy bowed to the shadow of his mother and said, "Hello, Daddy." And of course, the young mother, the young lady, missed her husband very much, and she talked to her own shadow every night. "My husband, you have been away for so long. How could I alone raise our child?" And she cried. And of course, when she sit down, the shadow sit down. It was a wrong perception on his part. He has killed his wife just because of one wrong perception. But now it's too late. His wife is already dead. If both of them had known the fourth mantra, they could have avoided the tragedy. The lady could have gone to him and said, "My husband, I suffer so much. I don't understand why since the time I came home from the market, you did not look at me anymore, you did not talk to me anymore. Have I done something horrible to deserve that kind of treatment? Please help. Please explain to me." That is the fourth mantra. And if she had done that, he would have told her about what the little boy said at the gate of the village. But she did not do that. And he himself did not do it either. He should have gone to her and said, "Darling, I suffer so much." The little boy said that during my absence, someone came every night. "Why have you done such a thing to me? I suffer, please explain." And then the lady would have a chance to explain, and both of them would have been able to avoid a tragedy. And that is why we have to learn the lesson. This is a true story in Vietnam. Emperor Lý Thánh Tông came to that village one time, and he saw a monument, and he asked, what is the kind of monument? A shrine. And they told him the true story of Trương Chi Nam Sương Lady. And the emperor wrote a poem about the tragedy. This is a true story. So it's very important that all of us learn the fourth mantra. And when we believe that our suffering has been caused by the person we love the most, we have to practice this mantra. We have to go to him or to her and practice the mantra. Darling, I suffer. Please help. Please explain. We should not make the same mistake as Mr. Trương and the Nam Sương lady. The monastics of Plum Village would like to offer you a chant. This is a practice. The monastics are going to chant the name of Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva of deep listening to the suffering inside of him and in the world. The monastics have been trained so that when they chant the name of Avalokiteshvara, they go home to themselves and listen to their own suffering inside. The suffering inside reflects somehow the suffering of the world. And that is why understanding the suffering inside, you can at the same time understanding the suffering of the world. And understanding suffering is a very important practice because it gives rise to the energy of compassion. The energy of compassion has the power to heal and to transform. But many of us do not want to go home to us and listen to our own suffering. We don't think of it as something pleasant. And we try to cover up the suffering inside by the way of consuming. But this is a practice of mindfulness. The practice of mindfulness helps us to go home to ourselves without fear, using the energy of mindfulness to get in touch with the suffering inside and to listen deeply to the suffering inside. The outcome is the arising of the energy of compassion that can help heal, and we suffer less when we practice. And after you suffer less, after compassion has been born in your heart, you'll be able to look at the other person and see the suffering in him or her. And when you are able to see the suffering in him or in her, you are not angry at him or her anymore. Instead, you want to do something in order to help him or her to suffer less. And that is why the monastics chant Namo Avalokiteshvara for the first time. They go home and touch the suffering inside. And when they chant for the second time, they reach out and get in touch with the suffering around them in the planet. And the collective practice can bring about the collective energy of mindfulness, peace and compassion that can be very healing and transforming. If we have tension and pain in our body, we may like to allow our body to relax so that the collective energy of mindfulness and peace could penetrate into our body and help release the tension and reduce the pain in our body. If we have some fear, anxiety, anger in our heart, we may like to open our heart so that the collective energy of the Sangha can penetrate and help embrace that pain and sorrow, and we feel better after a few minutes of practice. We don't have to do much. We just practice mindful breathing to be truly present in the here and the now, and allow our body to relax so that the collective energy of mindfulness and peace could penetrate in our body, our heart, and help release the tension and the pain.